the way, mana, honor, garva, pride, vyaja stuti, indirect prayer, kabhu, sometimes, ninda, blasphemy, kabhu, sometimes, va, or samana, honor. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The symptoms of madness served as an impetus for remembering Krishna. The mood of ecstasy awoke love, disdain, defamation by words, pride, honor, and indirect prayer. Thus Sri Krishna was sometimes blasphemed and sometimes honored. Purport. The word unmada is explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as extreme joy, misfortune, and bewilderment in the heart due to separation. Symptoms of unmada are laughing like a madman, dancing, singing, performing ineffectual activities, talking nonsense, running, shouting, and sometimes working in contradictory ways. The word pranaya is explained thus. When there is a possibility of receiving direct honor, but it is avoided, that love is called pranaya. Srila Rupa Goswami, in his Ujjvala Nilamani, explains the word mana thus. When the lover feels novel sweetness by exchanging hearty loving words, but wishes to hide his feelings by crooked means, mana is experienced. Om Ganantamanandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Nupakaramayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutupadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sta Shri Rupam Sahagajatam Sahaganam Nagunatam Vitam Tam Satifam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sta Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Shmati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtata Deshatarane Vanchakalpatarubhishya Kripasmini Vichapatitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Nami Gurudrishe Namaha Panchatatratnakam Krishnam Bhakti Rupasvarupakam Bhakdavatam Bhaktakam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. So I would like to first of all state that this particular verse, this particular section of Chaitanya Charitamrita, I personally am unqualified to speak about it. These are very, very high topics, and as Rupa Goswami mentions in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he actually just gives a very brief summary description of the Madhurya Ras and the topmost intimate pastimes of Lord Krishna. And he says that materialists, this is just, beyond the understanding of the materialists. So even in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he does not talk so much about the Madhurya Ras, about the intimate loving pastimes between Krishna and the gopis. But these he talks about definitively in the book Ujjvala Nilamani. So the word Ujjvala means splendid, splendor, and Nilamani is blue gem. So this is this blue gem Krishna. This is a reference to that. So everything about Madhurya Ras is described in detail and in depth in this Ujjvala Nilamani. So, certain point, just before diving into the purport a little, I just want to make is that I just want to read from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Dashamula Tattva. So the Dashamula Tattva, it's like a very kind of like concise statement of our Siddhanta. So in order to understand anything, the first proposition of Dashamula Tattva is Amnayaha Praha. So this is given, this is the Anuvad, the translation for this is that the Vedas are the principal scriptural evidence, which in turn expounds the following principles. So we'll just read the rest here. So Tattvam Harim Iha Paramam Sarva Shaktim Rasadhim Tad Binam Samscha Jivan Prakriti Kavalitan Tad Vimuktamscha Bhavat Bedha Bedha Prakasham Sakalam Api Hare Sadhanam Shudha Bhaktim Sadhyam Tat Pritim Evid Yupadishti Janan Goda Chandraha Swayam Saha. So beginning with Amnayaha Praha, the Vedas are the principal scriptural evidence, which in turn expound the following 9 principles. 2. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. 3. He possesses all energies. 4. He is the ocean of rasa, or the transcendental mellows. 5. The living entities are his separated parts and parcels. 6. The living entity, due to his nature of marginal energy, may become conditioned by the material energy. 7. Due to his marginal nature, the living entity in the liberated condition is free of the influence of material nature. 8. Everything in this material creation is inconceivably one and different from the Supreme Lord Hare. 9. Pure devotional service is the proper practice to achieve prema. And 10. Pure love of Krishna, which is a living entity's ultimate goal of life. So, all these things, what they point to is that there's an authorized process for understanding or actually achieving Krishna prema. And that actually begins with the Vedic literature. So the standard of Vedic literature, and the Vedas in particular, is that in order to know how to act, in order to know the qualities of Brahman and so forth like that, the only source is this Vedic literature. So the Guru, the Acharyas, they also explicate, they also explain these things, but their source is also the Vedic literature, and so forth like that. So one can neither speculate to understand this, and it's not obtainable by any other means. So that's the standard of the Vedic literature. So this is aparoksha dhyan. So there's no, it's not achievable by any other means. And so we begin with the Vedic literature. So, a few notes about this chapter, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila chapter 2. The second chapter, it summarizes the ecstasies and separation of the Lord during the last 12 years of his past manifest pastimes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's state of mind in these pastimes, this is identical to the Radha and the gopis at the time that Uddhava visited them. So they are all they're all lamenting Krishna's absence. They were in a state of madness, sometimes talking. The very famous Brahmana Gita, where Srimati Radharani is talking to the bumblebee about Krishna, and so forth. So this is the state, it says here by Krishna Das Kaviraj that this is the state of mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this state is a state of madness and separation. So we can see even in the material world that, say, when some boy dies or something, his mother becomes mad in grief. But this is a material feeling, but the spiritual equivalent in the spiritual world is madness and separation. This is the highest ecstasy of love of Krishna. Vipralamba seva. So the Lord, He enjoyed this transcendental bliss of separating and then meeting and then separating and then meeting. So this is how He relished the Madhurya Ras in the last 12 years of His manifest pastimes. So this prema is exhibited by the external appearance of severe tribulation. And this is a characteristic of love of Krishna. Internal bliss with severe tribulation. In the mundane world, they make many movies about mundane separation and mundane meeting. But this is the lowest relations between men and women in the world. But in the spiritual world, the same type, or the seemingly same type of relation is the highest. It's actually described in Chaitanya Charitamrita that the difference between lust and love is like the difference between iron and gold. Both may have some resemblance in that they're metals, but there's a wide difference between gold and iron. So, as already mentioned, the Ujjvala Nilamani by Rupa Goswami is the definitive guide to Madhurya Ras and the Ragmayi Bhakti. So the Nectar of Devotion and the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu only briefly talks about this. So now one question that may come up is we are on such a low platform. We're just struggling to chant our rounds. We're struggling to do our service. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we may even fail. Sometimes it's just a struggle to go on. Those of us who are a little more advanced, it's not so much of a struggle. But still, there's a big, even for very advanced devotees, you may be a very good devotee, but someone who is who's a sadhya bhakta, someone who's achieved the goal of life. He's at the level of bhava and prema. Sri Rupa Goswami says in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that such a person is very, very rare, extremely rare. Maybe you get once in a generation, once in 2 generations, such a person. So, what is the use of hearing these pastimes? What is the use? The use of hearing these pastimes is that it gives us some attraction. It gives us some impetus to actually taking up the path of bhakti and trying to succeed in it. So we mentioned that the Vedas are the root source of all of our knowledge, the attributes of Brahman, and the process for achieving realization of Brahman. So, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana, in his Govinda Bhashya commentary on the Brahma Sutras, on the verse Shastra Yunitvat. So, Shastra is the origin. So he comments on a challenge that's given to the followers of the Vedas. So, some people say, the Purva Pakshan says, is that only those instructions that tell men what to do are of any value. For example, if I say do not drink liquor, or chant japa, or get up early in the morning for Mangalarti, only those kinds of vidhis have any value. There are other descriptions in the Vedas that say, for example, like there are 7 continents and there are 7 oceans. It's just for information, but what value does that give for us? So some people, some scrupulous people, Purvapakshans, they say further that because of those descriptions, not everything in the Vedas is valuable, and because not everything in the Vedas is valuable, the Vedas are imperfect, and because the Vedas are imperfect, therefore one cannot achieve moksha or liberation by means of the Vedas, because there's imperfections. How can you achieve perfection by an imperfect means? So the answer to that, given by Baladeva Vibhushana, is that just because there are some descriptions in the Vedas, and they're not explicitly vidhis that tell you what to do, does not mean that they are not valuable. Just like, for example, if someone tells you that there is a hidden treasure in your house, and a means to find that treasure, such an instruction is immediately valuable to people. There's no vidhi that says, you should go get the treasure. It's not like that, but that information is valuable. So similarly, the Upanishads, Puranas, especially Bhagavad Purana, many other Vedic literatures, there are so many descriptions of the transcendental qualities, name, form, pastimes, paraphernalia, and activities of the Lord. And just hearing about those activities gives one the inspiration to realize Krishna. So, where were we here? 64. So this is the worth. So we should hear about these pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his ecstasies and so forth, his transcendental ecstasies, but in moderation. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, actually, there are certain parts of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, very intimate parts, in which he actually told his disciples, his more neophyte disciples, do not read those. And only some of those disciples who were very advanced, did he say, yes, you may read these certain parts of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita about the intimate pastimes. So, or in this chapter, it is probably a good idea, just for the sake of, just to follow the Shishtachar of our acharyas, that we should hear about these pastimes, but we should not dwell too much on it, at least for the general public. So probably, this chapter, maybe 2-3 classes should be given on it, and then move on to other topics more suitable for those of us. So therefore, though myself personally, I'm not qualified to say this, but there is value in it for us, and this is the value for at our stage, for those of us on the lower stage, for getting the impetus to achieve Krishna Prema, to engage very seriously in the sadhana and pleasing a spiritual master and spreading the Krishna consciousness movement. These pastimes were giving us encouragement in that way. So, I just want to read a few passages here from the Srila Prabhupada's books, and this is in relation to the purport and some of the terms there. So first thing is, this is from the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 44. It says, devotional service and conjugal love. This is Srila Prabhupada reading. A pure devotee's attraction to Krishna in conjugal love is called devotional service and conjugal love. Although such conjugal feelings are not at all material, there is some similarity between the spiritual love and material activities. Therefore, persons who are interested only in material activities are unable to understand this spiritual conjugal love, and these devotional reciprocations appear very mysterious to them. Rupa Goswami therefore describes conjugal love very briefly. So hence, just a comment. So we should also we may talk about conjugal love, but in such public settings, we should talk about it briefly. Continuing on. The impetuses for conjugal love are Krishna and his very dear consorts, such as Radharani and her immediate associates. Lord Krishna has no rival, no one is equal to him, and no one is greater than him. His beauty is also without any rival, and because he excels all others in pastimes of conjugal love, he is the original object of all conjugal love. In the Gita Govinda by Jayadev Goswami, one gopi tells her friend, Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure within this universe. His body is as soft as a lotus flower, and his free behavior with the gopis, which appears exactly like a young boy's attraction to a young girl, is a subject matter of transcendental conjugal love. A pure devotee follows in the footsteps of the gopis and worships the gopis as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisances to all the young cowherd girls, whose bodily features are so attractive. Simply by their beautiful, attractive features, they are worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Out of all the young gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most prominent. The beauty of Srimati Radharani is described as follows, quote, her eyes defeat the attractive features of the eyes of a Chakordi bird. When one sees the face of Radharani, he immediately hates the beauty of the moon. Her bodily complexion defeats the beauty of gold. Thus, let us look upon the transcendental beauty of Srimati Radharani. Krishna's attraction for Radharani is described by Krishna himself thus, quote, when I create some joking phrases in order to enjoy the beauty of Radharani, Radharani hears these joking words with great attention, but her bodily features and counterwords, she neglects me, and I even possess unlimited pleasure by her neglect of me. She becomes so beautiful that she increases my pleasure 100 times. A similar statement can be found in Gita Govinda, wherein it is said that when the enemy of Kamsa, Sri Krishna, embraces Srimati Radharani, he immediately becomes entangled in a loving condition and gives up the company of all the other gopis. So by hearing these transcendental qualities of the Supreme Lord and his associates, and particularly his eternal consort, Srimati Radharani, one develops a desire to attain Krishna prema, to follow in the footsteps of the gopis, to become a humble devotee. But again, it should be remembered that, just as it said in the, it's amnayaha praha, that all this information is still, has to be, all this, our practice of bhakti, our understanding, has to be in line with the Vedas. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada his title is Bhakti Vedanta. Bhakti according to Vedanta. So, therefore, our acharyas have been very particular and very strict about explicating the process of bhakti according to the revealed scriptures. Nana Shastra Vicharanayaka Nipano Sadharma Samstapako. That the 6 Goswamis labored to establish Sadharma Samstapako, that on the basis of the revealed scriptures. So there are many kinds of scriptures, Nana Shastra Pakar. So on the basis of the many kinds of revealed scriptures, the 6 Goswamis labored to give us this transcendental understanding, but the authorized transcendental understanding. So there are many people who practice devotional service, but not according to the Shastras. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur considered them the enemies of devotional service. So therefore, one characteristic of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is that he was intolerant of Rupanuga Virudapa Siddhanta. So he's intolerant of those philosophies, of those ideas that are against the teachings of Srila Rupa Goswami. So we follow Srila Prabhupada. So there's a term that's come up somewhat in the last several years called Prabhupadanuga. But Prabhupada is Rupanuga. So to be Prabhupada one must also be Rupanuga. We do not want to be Prabhupada but not Rupanuga. Must be both, just like a line. If you put a point in space, you can draw many lines through it. Isn't it? Many lines can be drawn through a single point. But if you have a second point, then you can only draw one line through it. So therefore, evam parampara praptam, that this knowledge is received through the disciplic succession. So the standard is that one must not only follow Vedas, but one must also hear it from one's guru. One must hear the teachings from one's guru. It's like Srila Prabhupada one time he was telling his disciples, just like my guru, he may have said something or may have written some book, but even you read that book, you cannot understand what my guru has said. You have to come through me. So same thing, is that in order to achieve Krishna realization, one has to go through the guru. So this is a Tato Brahma Jigyasya. So, according to Madhvacharya, so Brahma Jigyasya has three components to it. One is Shravana, one is Manana, and the other is Dhyan. So, by Shravana, one hears about the transcendental qualities of the Lord. One comes to know about qualities of Brahman that one has not heard before. And by Manana, by contemplation on these qualities, one becomes fixed in the Siddhanta. One becomes fixed in the conclusions of the Shastras beyond any reasonable doubt. And then by Dhyan, one actually meditates and concentrates on the Supreme Lord. So there are two kinds of people. So the full point is, the actual point is Krishna realization. Krishna consciousness, we can say. This is the Krishna consciousness movement. So this Krishna consciousness is achievable by two ways mainly. Actually one way. Actually it all comes to Dhyan. So there are some people who, because of their temperament, they're very philosophical minded, they concentrate on the Shastra. They have the intelligence, they have the means, and that's just their disposition, they like to do it. But other people, they may not be so capable of studying the Shastras, but by practical service, they also come to the point of Dhyan. So both kinds of people are there. So therefore there's action in Krishna consciousness, and then there's a cessation of activities. There's the philosophical contemplation. By both means, one comes to the point of Dhyan and meditation on the Krishna. And so from that, by that means, and by doing all these activities according to the order of the spiritual master, then these activities bear fruit. So the practice of Shravana, Manana, and Dhyan must be executed according to the order and direction of the spiritual master. So even if, for example, we read something in Bhagavad Gita and learn something new, we should actually still hear from the spiritual master. What is that teaching? Even if it seems that we've heard it. And then the actual fruit of that endeavor, of that prayas, will actually come about, but not before. That's why this is considered very confidential information. It can only be received in this way. So, a few of the terms here. This is Unmada. I'm just going here. This is 3, 4. Okay. Just 1 second. So, Unmada, or madness, is a stage. Is a stage in the level in achieving prema. So there are. This is what's called. This is what's called samartha love. This is called love without any tinge of personal desire. So the. Certain gopis, 4, 6, 5, 6 here. So this is called the madness. So Krishna, so Srila Prabhupada says, Unmada is explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as extreme joy, misfortune, and bewilderment in the heart due to separation. Symptoms of Unmada are laughing like a madman, dancing, singing, performing ineffectual activities, talking nonsense, running, shouting, and sometimes working in contradictory ways. So there are some examples of this. So observing the activities of a certain gopi, young gopi, Vrinda informs Krishna. A certain gopi who considered herself your most dear lover was surrounded by elderly relatives who prevented her from going to you. Imagining she heard the sound of your ankle bells far away, she became like a madwoman, loudly calling, "Oh Krishna, Krishna." Actually, this is Actually, that's an example of pranaya. The possibility of receiving direct honor is avoided, but that love is called pranaya. So, there's a lot of. Here's an example of. Here's an example of Mada. Knitting her eyebrows on her forehead. Krishna to Kundavali. When he accidentally said the word Radha, Chandravali became tortured with pain, as if violently wounded at heart. However, in order to pacify my embarrassment and bewilderment, she doubled the smile on her lotus face and spoke words filled with sweetness. In this way, Chandravali astonished my cowherd friend. Knitting her eyebrows on her forehead, this gopi stared at Hare, and the two bumblebees of her eyes drank the nectar of his lotus face. So another one. Having lost the dice game in which an embrace was the winner's prize, the doe-eyed gopi stared at Madhava with crooked eyes and stopped him with her hand when he tried to embrace her. During the rasa dance, one gopi, absorbed in the anger of love, bit her lips, knitted her eyebrows, and curled with distaste, and she struck him with her flower garland. So it's like, whack. This is So it's practically impossible for us to understand these very intimate pastimes in our present condition. So we can only, fold our hands and pray that Krishna, please guide me on the path to loving devotional service. So I want to say that, just to conclude, so this kind of rasa is possible only in relation to Sri Krishna. So there are many other forms of the Lord, and there are many devotees in the world that are attached to these many forms of the Lord. So just like, for example, when Lord Ram was wandering in the forest, and he came upon some rishis, and the rishis, they had a desire to embrace the Lord in a conjugal ras, but they understood that in this present form of Krishna's Lord Ram, that this was not possible. Therefore, Lord Ram granted their desire to become gopis in Krishna Lila. So in Krishna Lila, there are different gopis, different kinds of gopis. So some kind are always with him, like the 8 principal gopis, and Srimati Radharani, and Lalita, and Vishaka Devi. They're always with him. Then you have the gopis that come, they're either Munigan or the Upanishad. So, these are the, they're called the Yaltika gopis. So the Upanishads actually appear as gopis. So interesting to note that. One time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he went to Radha Kund, and at Radha Kund, he actually started giving lectures on Upanishads. So he started giving lectures on the Upanishads. Some of the Babajis of the area objected and they left. But why should they object? This is the Upanishads themselves take birth, actually appear as gopis. What could be more profound or intimate understanding actually conveyed by the Upanishads? But for those of us who are on the lower level, it requires the Acharya to actually explain the significance to us. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was such an Acharya. And then these munis also got the blessing of Lord Ram to become gopis in their next, in Krishna Leela. They're also part of the Yotiki gopis. And then there are others, they're jivas who after many births of pure sadhana, they also take on the swarup of the gopis. And then there are the wives of the devatas. They also come to take part in the pastimes of the Lord Krishna. So these are the various kinds of gopis that are described in the Ujjvala Nilamani. So this is a very intimate subject. It's something that we should hear, but we should hear occasionally. We shouldn't hear all the time. And it should be known that the means and the source of our information ultimately is, the source is coming from the Vedas and the Vedic literature and Srimad Bhagavatam. And so the correct practice of bhakti is bhakti Vedanta. It is bhakti according to Vedanta. And it is only through this means that one can actually achieve Krishna prema. Any kind of bhakti which is against the revealed shastras is, according to Srila Rupa Goswami, upataya iva kalpate. It's just a disturbance in society. The 6 Goswamis in particular, under the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they've labored to actually give the path of bhakti, bhakti marg, to show how it is authorized according to, what is the authorized path of bhakti according to the revealed scriptures. So therefore, in our own Krishna consciousness, we should endeavor very carefully to follow the prescribed rules and regulations under the order of a bona fide spiritual master in order to attain Krishna prema. There is no other path. I would like to end here. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions? Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for your wonderful lecture. Prabhuji, my question was that
Can you speak a little louder?
You have just now said that the Devatas also came into the pastimes of the Lord. So, but Devatas actually they are in the mixed devotional service. They are mostly doing the mixed devotional service. So, how they will take part in the pure devotional service?
Well, why is it the Devatas? Actually, at the very first part of the Krishna Leela, in the Krishna book, when the Lord, when they go to the ocean of milk, so the Devatas and their wives are ordered to actually go down and appear in the family of Krishna in order to take part in his various pastimes. So, some of those, they're actually take part as kanyas, that they're not married to Krishna, they're not married, but they consider in their heart, Krishna is like their husband. So this is just one of the kinds of gopis that appear. So just like there are jivas, and there are there are the munis, the Upanishads, and so forth. There are different ways that these, that the gopis have come into Krishna's pastimes.
Prabhuji, just like there are some parts in the Vedas which is almost like impossible to understand. Like you mentioned the description of the universe as explained in the 5th canto. So there are islands, and then there are oceans, 7 oceans. So it's almost like very difficult to comprehend. So should we spend 9 to understand these subject matters, or should we just read and go ahead and spend more time on those things which are more practicable and more practically applicable to life?
Well, both are there. This is what Baladev Vidabhushana mentions, that these pastimes, these descriptions, they're actually meant to encourage our devotional service. So in the in Mimamsa Shastra, in Praman Shastra, this inspiration to do something, this is called Arti Bhavana. So Arti Bhavana means that on understanding, there's an impetus to take some action. So you have Shabdi Bhavana. So Shabdi Bhavana means that somebody says something and you do it. Follow 4 regulative principles, you do it. That's the inspiration. But then there's also Arti Bhavana. That means by understanding, the inspiration also comes. So Baladev Vidabhushana's point is that, okay, in all the Vedas are broadly classified into 2 kinds of statements. One is called Vidhi, and the other is called Arthavad. So Arthavad is like a description. It's connected in one way or another with a Vidhi. It gives some description why a Vidhi is good to play, or just like there's 7 islands, these kinds of things are called Arthavad. Okay, but the Arthavad also gives us the inspiration. So yes, we should learn these descriptions. We should, we should understand these things. And first we should just accept it, okay? Because the first principle is that the Vedas are perfect. There's no fault in the Shabda. There's no fault in the Vedas. So if there's a description, there's 7 islands, there's 7 dvipas, 7 oceans, we just accept that. And remember that. And that itself gives us some inspiration. So why wouldn't we want to see some of those 7 islands or something? Or especially in the Bhagavatam, they're talking about, this is very nice, in the 5th canto, the descriptions. All the descriptions are talking about how all the residents are worshiping the Lord. So that's what the Bhagavatam gives us. Therefore, the Bhagavatam is considered the natural commentary in the Brahma Sutras. Okay? Any other questions? Would you like to say something, Gita Mitra Prabhu?
So, is Hindi?
Hindi.
तो ये जो चैतन्य महाप्रभु का भाव है, तो राधा भाव का आस्वादन करने के ही लिए भगवान प्रकट हुए, और उनके 48 वर्ष का जो चरित्र है, उसमें जो अंतिम 12 वर्ष हैं, वो इसी भाव का आस्वादन करने में भगवान ने जो है लगाए। तो अंतिम जो 12 वर्ष हैं, उनका जो है ये चरित्र है कि वो राधा भाव का आस्वादन कर रहे हैं, और राधा भाव में कृष्ण के वियोग में राधा रानी जैसे पागल हो जाती हैं। तो वो पागलपन में कई प्रकार की चेष्टाएं होती हैं। तो इसमें बताया कभू निंदा कभू व सम्मान। तो कभी राधा रानी कृष्ण के विरह में पागल हो जाती हैं, तो कभी कृष्ण की निंदा करती हैं और कभी कृष्ण का सम्मान करती हैं। तो इसमें निंदा का एक उदाहरण है कि राधा रानी क्या कहती हैं, ये प्यार संख्या 19 इसी अध्याय में, बाहरी नागर राज भीतरे सठेर काज। बाहर से तो कृष्ण कैसे हैं, बहुत अच्छे जो है सभ्य हैं, नगरवासी, नागर राज उनके राजा हैं, नगरवासियों के राजा हैं, बड़े सभ्य हैं, ऊपर से बड़े सभ्य हैं, और भीतर भीतर षष्ठेर काज, और भीतर भीतर षठ का कार्य करते हैं, दुष्टता करते हैं। पर नारी वधे सावधान, पराई स्त्रियों का जो है वध करने में बड़े सावधान रहते हैं। तो अपनी दृष्टि के बाण के द्वारा पराई स्त्रियों को जो है वध करते हैं। तो अपनी जो दृष्टि है उनकी वो बाण की तरह है, और वो जो है बाण मारते हैं। ये शिकारी जैसे बाण मारता है तो हरिणों का जो है वध करता है। तो ये जो है कृष्ण शिकारी की तरह है, अपनी दृष्टि के बाण के द्वारा पराई स्त्रियों का वध करते हैं। इस प्रकार से निंदा करती हैं, फिर सम्मान भी करती हैं। तो इसी के अगले इस प्यार में क्या कहती हैं, तुम्हें मोर दयते, आप ही मेरे बहुत प्रिय हैं। मोते वैसे तुम्हार चेत, तो मेरे ऊपर अपना जो है ध्यान दीजिए, मुझ पर आप जो है ध्यान दीजिए, मेरे ऊपर अपनी दया दृष्टि कीजिए। मोर भाग्य कहले आगमन, मेरे भाग्य से आपका आगमन हुआ। तो सम्मान, तो इस प्रकार से राधा रानी कृष्ण का सम्मान भी करती हैं। तो पागलपन में जो है अनेक प्रकार की चेष्टाएं होती हैं। तो इसमें बहुत सी चेष्टाओं का वर्णन आता है कि गर्वमान है, गर्व है, और ब्याज स्तुति है। और ब्याज स्तुति का मतलब होता है कि जब आप प्रशंसा करते हैं किसी की निंदा करने के बहाने, निंदा करने के बहाने आप किसी की प्रशंसा करते हैं। तो जैसे मैं आपसे कहूँ आप बड़े झूठे हैं, आप झूठ बोलते हैं, तो मैं कहूँ कि भाई साहब आप तो बड़े सत्यवादी हैं। तो ये क्या होता है, ये होता है निंदा करने के, सम्मान करने के बहाने, प्रशंसा करने के बहाने निंदा करना। तो इस प्रकार से जो है ब्याज स्तुति कहलाती है। इसी प्रकार से ब्याज निंदा भी कहलाती है। कभी कभी भक्त लोग जो है कृष्ण की निंदा करते हैं, लेकिन वो निंदा क्या है, ब्याज निंदा कहलाती है। ब्याज निंदा का मतलब है कि निंदा करने के बहाने प्रशंसा करना। तो एक भक्त ने जो है कृष्ण की ब्याज निंदा की, तो उन्होंने क्या कहा कि गोपाल इति मत्वा त्वाम प्रचुर क्षीर वांछया श्रुतो मातो स्तन क्षीरम अभी लब्धुम न शक्नुयाम। कहते हैं कि मैंने तो आपको समझा था कि आप गोपाल हैं, तो गऊओं को पालते हैं, तो बहुत आपके गऊ में हैं और बहुत दूध मिलेगा, तो मैंने आपका आश्रय लिया था कि बहुत दूध मिलेगा, आप गोपाल हैं। लेकिन मैंने आपका आश्रय लिया, लेकिन क्या हुआ, सब उल्टा हुआ। श्रुतो मातो स्तन क्षीरम, माता के स्तन का दूध भी मुझे मिलना बंद हो गया। तो निंदा कि निंदा की आपने जो है, मतलब मैंने तो सोचा बहुत दूध मिलेगा, लेकिन मेरा तो हाल ये हो गया कि माता का स्तन का दूध भी मिलना बंद हो गया। तो निंदा के बहाने क्या है, प्रशंसा। क्या प्रशंसा कि दोबारा जन्म होगा नहीं मेरा, माता के स्तन का दूध नहीं मिलेगा, इसका मतलब क्या है, आप माता के गर्भ में नहीं आएंगे। तो इस प्रकार तो कृष्ण की प्रशंसा की जा रही है, लेकिन किस बहाने, निंदा के बहाने। तो भगवान जो है जब निंदा सुनते हैं, गोपियों के मुख से अपनी निंदा सुनते हैं, तो वो भी जो है उनको बहुत प्रिय लगती है। और वेदों की जो स्तुतियाँ हैं, वेदों के वचन हैं, तो उनसे जो है उनको जो है उतना सुख नहीं प्राप्त होता है जितना चीज राधा रानी के द्वारा जब अपनी निंदा सुनते हैं, क्योंकि प्रेम है। तो प्रेम में जो है जब पागलपन आता है, तो इस प्रकार से कई प्रकार से जो है निंदा करती हैं। तो गोपियाँ निंदा करती थी कृष्ण की। कैसे निंदा करती थी, कहती थी कि आपका जो है जो परम भक्त प्रहलाद था, बेचारा बालक था, और उसको जो है उसके पिता जो है बहुत यातनाएं देते रहे, बहुत यातनाएं देते रहे, लेकिन तुम रक्षा ही नहीं करते, रक्षा ही नहीं की तुमने उसकी, उसको बहुत यातनाएं मिली। लेकिन जब तुम्हारा बहुत जो है बदनामी होने लगी, बहुत बदनामी होने लगी, तो बदनामी से रक्षा के लिए फिर नरसिंह रूप धारण किया, उसका वध किया। तो जब बहुत बदनामी होने लगी, तो लेकिन आपका हृदय बड़ा कठोर है, भक्त जो है यातना प्राप्त करता है, आप रक्षा नहीं करते, जल्दी रक्षा नहीं करते। और फिर इस प्रकार से बलि के यज्ञ में भी जो है आपने जो है मतलब बड़ा कपट, छल कपट किया, और छल कपट के द्वारा उसकी जो है सब संपत्ति छीन ली, और उसको जो है आपने सुतल लोक में भेज दिया, बंधन में डाल दिया। तो आपके जो है इसी प्रकार के चरित्र हैं। तो ऐसे जो है जो गोपियाँ हैं, राधा रानी हैं, जब कृष्ण की निंदा करती हैं, तो कृष्ण को जो है वो निंदा भी जो है बहुत अच्छी लगती है, क्योंकि प्रेम में जो मतलब कार्य होते हैं, चेष्टाएं होती हैं, तो कृष्ण को जो है बहुत सुख प्रदान करती हैं, कृष्ण बहुत सुखी होते हैं। तो राधा रानी का जो पागलपन है, भगवान कृष्ण स्वयं इसका आस्वादन करने के लिए चैतन्य महाप्रभु के रूप में आए, राधा भाव का आस्वादन करने के लिए। हरे कृष्णा। रंधरा श्री चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna